Hey guys, I'm Jordan and you're watching Fixbook. After watching this video, your car problems stand about as much a chance as this laptop does against my hot lead. Now, make sure you stay tuned so you can see what happened to the laptop at the end of this video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. So today, I'm going to be showing you how to replace the front brake pads and rotors on your F-150. Hey guys, and the tools you'll need in today's video, you'll want to use a brake bar or something like that with a 21mm socket, a 3/8 ratchet, a 13mm, and an 18mm socket. And then also you'll need something to measure your front brake rotors with, like a pair of measuring calipers like I got right there. Okay guys, and once you've got your car lifted up in the air and have a jack sitting on it, the first thing you'll do is go ahead and take your screwdriver. Here we're just going to take this center cap piece off here, and it's going to reveal our lug nuts. Now we've got 19mm lug nuts. We just need to break these loose, remove this, and we'll remove this big old wheel. And then we'll just take this big old wheel off. And then we'll just roll them on here out of our way. Alright guys, and the next thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and take my flathead screwdriver. I'm just going to reach in here behind the caliper, and when I get them wedged in there good, I'm just going to go ahead and pry. And what we're doing here is we're compressing the caliper piston back. I may have to go ahead and what we want to do is loosen up these caliper slide pin bolts, and it's going to be a 13mm bolt, so I'm going to go ahead and break them loose here. And so once we got both caliper slide pin bolts loose here, we may be able to reach in a little bit further in our caliper here. So like you see me right there, we're just going to go ahead and pry that here and compress that caliper piston. And once we've done a little bit there, it should be rocking there a little bit, so I'll go ahead and finish removing these two bolts here. Remember again, 13mm. We should just be able to pull our caliper here right off. Okay guys, so I just finished taking those two bolts out. I'm just going to go ahead and pull my caliper off here. And now we're going to be looking at our two brake pads here. And they are looking a little skinny. If they look like that, you do want to go ahead and change them. And then from this point, we can remove this rotor here, and it's just a free rotor as opposed to the capture rotor. So all we'll have to do is remove these two caliper bracket bolts, and our whole caliper bracket will just slide right off here, and you can just remove your rotor just like that. Alright, so I just removed both of my brake pads there, and behind here you can see we've got this caliper pin bolt here. Right behind that we have an 18mm caliper bracket bolt, so I'm going to go ahead and get a big ratchet on there. Okay guys, and for the sake of me running real tight on time here, I'm not actually going to remove this caliper bracket, and you can trust and believe what I got to say here. Basically all we got is an 18mm socket here. You're going to set on that bolt and you're just going to lefty loosen them. And once you remove those two bolts, you can really see what's going on here. You're just going to grab this rotor and just pull them right off. That's really the only thing that's in your way is that caliper bracket there. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about putting your brand new brake pads on in this rotor here. Alright, we have now reached the most important segment of this video. Please do not skip over this part of the video. It's important for you to hear what I've got to say about rotors, and it's important to assure that after you've done your brake repair, your car will be safe to drive. So we've got a few different options here when it comes to dealing with your rotors. You can either replace your rotor, have your rotor resurfaced, or you can keep and use your current rotor as is. Now, first I'm going to go over replacing the rotor. It is an absolute must to replace the rotor if its measurement is below the minimum thickness threshold to ensure your car is safe to drive. What I'm going to describe here in just a second, whether you want or don't want to replace the rotor, that's up to you. Affordability and comfort is at hand. But if it is below the minimum thickness threshold, there's no other way about it. You must replace the rotor. Okay, so now that we understand that, and here in just a second I'll show you how to measure it and be able to tell whether it's below the threshold or not. But now we're going to talk about turning your rotors. Now, there's a couple reasons you could turn your rotor, and that's to keep your present rotor, and you can pay about $10 to Napa or O'Reilly, where they have a brake lathe, and they will turn your rotor for you. It's a cheaper option than buying a whole new rotor. And the reason you'd want to do that is if you've wore your brake pads down metal to metal, and the metal pad is wedged in grooves there, and it's all torn up, then you don't want to put new pads on that torn up surface with your old rotor. So you'd want to have your rotor resurfaced, and that's to ensure longevity for your new brake pads. The other reason to have your rotors resurfaced at a parts store is if you're having vibration problems with your rotors. That is, if you're driving down the highway and you apply the brake pedal and you feel your brake pedal vibrating. If you don't like that, that would be a good reason to have your rotors turned. But if you're really particular, just keep in mind that when the rotors are thinner, they're more likely to develop that warpage problem, because what happens is you'll be driving down the road, you'll run through a big puddle of water, and the water will splash on the hot rotor and it'll warp the rotor. The thicker the rotor is, or the newer the rotor is, it's going to be less likely to develop this problem. So resurfacing the rotor, if you have that problem, will fix the problem, but it'll come back faster. So if you have the extra money and you really don't want that problem, you can go ahead and just throw money at it and just get a new rotor every time. But if you want to see the problem go away and risk it coming back or not, it may or may not come back, you can go ahead and turn it and get out of the situation cheaper and be more comfortable. Now, the last option is to just keep your rotor and put new brake pads on. That is a very acceptable option, and that's what I do about 80% of the time. Again, as long as the rotor is above the minimum threshold, because if it's not going to be safe to drive. So it's okay to put new pads on your old rotor if it's smooth like this you can see right here. As long as it's a semi-smooth surface, you can go ahead and put the new brake pads on. It's really fine. So those are the three options that you have: replacing, resurfacing, or just keeping your old one. And again, most of the time, most people are just fine keeping their old rotor and putting new pads on top of their old rotor. One more thing I almost forgot to is rotors that cause vibration, they're safe to drive. It's just an uncomfortable thing. The unsafe thing is the below the minimum thickness, but rotors that cause vibration are safe to drive. And also, this minimum thickness number, if I don't tell you exactly what the number is here in just a second, you can find it at your parts store. They'll give you a discard thickness number on your rotor, so keep that in mind too. Okay guys, and just by taking a quick look on a quick internet search, I found the minimum thickness for this rotor is going to be 0.980 inches or 1.12 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll take a look here. And remember, you can ask your parts store exactly what that number is going to be. So we're going to set our tools from millimeters to inches. I'm going to go ahead and zero my tool, and we'll just set them right here. And I'm looking at 0.825 on the rotor here. So either the measurement I looked up is incorrect, or this rotor is definitely below the minimum thickness. So we'll go ahead and I'll speak to the customer about this issue here, and this rotor will either be replaced or we'll look further into the issue. And that's what you're going to want to do concerning your front brake rotor. Okay guys, now before we go ahead and put our brand new brake pads on, what we're going to do is we're going to examine our brake caliper slide pins. And you may or may not be able to see exactly what I'm doing here, but this, I'm going to go ahead and remove this slide pin we've got, and we can see. So we can see that our caliper slide pin here, it's a little dusty and rusty, and what I want to do is I want to go ahead and kind of wipe this piece off here, and I'm going to put some brand new high temperature brake grease on this guy right here, so he's going to slide a little bit smoother. And what that's going to do is it's going to ensure even brake pad wear. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this guy up, and then we'll also just apply a little brake grease on the end of our brand new brake pads. So now we'll go back down to our wheel area here in just a second, and I'll go ahead and show you the rest of these steps. Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead and take some of this disc brake quiet lubrication here. I'm going to go ahead and insert my new caliper slide pin, and I'll just make sure that seal sits on there good. And now what we'll do next is we'll come up here to the top. We're going to take one of our old brake pads here, and we'll take a C-clamp. We'll go ahead and get this guy set up on here, and basically the idea is we're just going to be compressing those two pistons in, and that's going to set our caliper up for our new brake pads, and it's going to ensure that those new brake pads, or the caliper, is going to set right with those new brake pads. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what you want to do here when setting the new disc brake pads in. Alright guys, and for this particular side, I'm working on the passenger side, we're going to make sure our wear indicator is sitting here on the bottom of this tab when it's going this way. And I'm just going to take some disc brake grease here and just apply a little bit right there to each edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and set them in our metal brackets here. And that's basically how you're going to want to do both brake pads. Here's my other new one. I'll go ahead and set that guy like that right there. And then we'll just set them right in here like so. And now we'll be ready to set our caliper right back on here. And you may have to pry up here on your shim there, or your metal bracket, to ensure the brake pad going in. There we go. Now I'll just go ahead and take our caliper with the compressed pistons. I'll set them in here. You'll also want to make sure that you got your caliper slide pins here. You're going to want to push them back a little bit to make sure the caliper goes in just like that. Now our new caliper slide pin bolts are ready to go in, and you'll just go ahead and start those guys, and like so. We'll tighten those down. You don't want to over tighten them, and when I get both of them ran all the way down, I'll show you just about how tight you want them in there. Okay guys, and here we are. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up this last caliper bolt. I got both of them run down, and it's looking pretty good. So basically I got this ratchet here. It's a really big ratchet. You don't want this large of a ratchet when you go and tighten it up. I'm just going to go ahead and set this guy right here, and I'm going to, my pushing point is going to be about halfway down. You'll use a ratchet back that side, and I'm just going to push down, and you can see it. It's been snugged down, and then I push down about a quarter, or about half a quarter turn, and I'm just pushing down right like that. So once you snug it down, just maybe a quarter to half a quarter turn, that's all you really need. These caliper slide pins and bolts are really easy to strip, so just make sure, be real careful not to strip the bolt there. You don't want to do that. So after that, you've pretty much got everything done. You'll go ahead and put your wheel back on. Just make sure you remember to depress the brake pedal all the way down. If not, as soon as you go or reverse, you're probably going to hit what's ever in front of you or behind you, because your car won't stop, because these pistons haven't been applied, so they're still kind of loose. So just remember to push down on that brake pedal up and down until the brake pedal gets tight. Then you'll know that your brakes are definitely going to stop you. And also, when you're doing this yourself, just remember the first 10 miles or so you drive, you may see smoke, and you may smell funny things coming from your wheel. What that is it's just grease and stuff that's been on your rotor, and it's all the nasties from when you touch that, and that's going to produce smoke and a smell. Normally at the shop they'll drive it around for you, and you're not going to see that. So just keep that in mind, and that's pretty much it for today's video. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching guys, and don't forget to subscribe so you can catch all my new videos, which publish Mondays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will see you then.